Hello, today we will be looking at the environment and as well as the environmental requirements for good plant growth. Note, plants have basic need for water, nutrition, temperature, and light. Plants' growth is affected by the soil factor, including the quality of the plant and the pests that you will find in the soil, the above ground environmental factor, as well the below ground environmental factors. In the environment, we have water that is stored within the air that helps the plant to cool down and retains heat or give off heat. You can find them in greenhouses. Within the environment, you have nutrition of the plant. There are at least 16 or more simple things like the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, iron, calcium. All these things can be found within the soil mixture of the plant. High temperature also is something to take consideration of when dealing with the environment, the growth of the plant, which temperature is needed as it takes time to grow to help the plant from wilting during very hot days or from dying during very cold days. Low temperature is also a factor to take into consideration. Chilling subtropical plants to almost near freezing. What is the cause of these plant materials? Why do they suffer? Plants adapt to cold areas much better than they do right after an ice storm, if you want to say. Light and day is also another thing to consider because some days are longer than the others and the plants need to understand what's happening in their whether they will flower or not flower. So plants produce more sugars and they tend to grow a better flower if they have a longer growing season. Photoperiodism. Plants respond to seasonally shorter or longer days. Longer days and higher temperatures stimulate the growth in the plant. Shorter days signal preparation for dormancy, time to just ready to go to bed. So taking into consideration light and day is very helpful. That's why you will use a greenhouse to prolong the growing season. Underground environment. In this overview, you have the use of chemicals, the loss of native soil fungi. Modern practices today increase production of the plant, and there are other things that can be eliminated from the soil. The soil makeup has the topsoil, the subsoil, the soil bedrock, the lower subsoil, ideal soil, about 50% of this matter. This is very important, especially when you're going onto a new building site. You do not want to just destroy all the good soil, but you want to keep some of the good soil for planting. Knowing your soil types helps you to understand how to plant. So for example, you have types of water soil: gravitational water, capillary water, sandy or light soil, well-drained soil, little capacity to hold moisture and plant food. So here you have a situation where the soil is very dry and loamy, salty. You will be very careful when you are selecting plants to go into such soil. How do you augment your soil? So knowing the different kinds of soil you're dealing with helps you to be able to plant properly. Your soil might need improvement, so you have drainage and aeration that's going to be taking place. Adding organic matter, tilling the soil, then cover the crops in such a way that is protected. Moisture retention, using things like animal manure, peat moss, sawdust, so many other things. Take a soil test to be able to know what you need to make your soil better. The underground environment continues to be complex, so you might have nutritional deficiency within the soil. Some of the signs you want to look out for will be the yellow or pale green leaves. That indicates nitrogen deficiency. Purple color on the leaf underside will tell you about the phosphorus deficiency. Soil also can have pests within the soil. You want to use chemical as your last resort. First, you want to try the resistant varieties of crops, planting in ways that will be rotational, and use different sorts of compost to help you kill the pests within your soil rather than going directly to chemicals. Planting in mixed medias also is another way to help you with the underground environment. Advantages of soilless media: makes the uniform, mixes are sterile, they are weightless, good moisture retention and drainage. These are things you want to look for within your soil for a good planting season. You also want to keep an eye out for the disadvantages of soilless mixes. For example, lightweight containers kept outdoors may be blown away. Minor elements may be missing from the soil. Plants transplanted from mixes to soil often do not have good roots. These are not very good medium for growing your plants. Some soilless mixes materials are perlite, peat moss, limestone, tree bark, compost that's decomposed organic matter, and charred biomass. Once again, we talked about the father of the genetics. All of these are pairs of things that you will find within the plant. Planting food and fertilizer. You want to make sure you have enough water, plant food groups such as nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, lime. There are many things out there on the market you can go and buy. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. You will be able to find that most plants grow best with a pH of 5.6 to 7. Lowering the pH in an alkaline soil, you will want to use things like sulfur, iron sulfate, or aluminum sulfate. Lime, pH, and other plants' food element, you want to activate the soil organism to encourage the release of plant food. Gypsum does not change the pH of the soil, but within the organic fertilizer, you have the byproduct of organism. They are less likely to burn the plant roots. They improve the soil structure. They allow active microorganisms to break down the nutrients to a soluble food source for the plants to grow. In certain climates where the weather is cooler, you want to take a good look at the temperature, such as temperature near or below the freezing stops plants' growth. Freezing temperature can kill the plants at its very tender stage, so if you're in a colder area like we are here, you want to make sure you keep an eye on the plants and what time you want to plant them. You also want to take into consideration the lighting of the planting. So light must be present for plants to manufacture food. Too much light destroys the leaf protein that is essential within the photosynthesis process. Flowering classification does not take place as much as it would like to. Short days for the plants and too long of a days and in different days. So all these things need to be taken into consideration. Humidity is something you want to take into consideration. Most plants grow best in 40 to 80% relative humidity. Very high humidity, such as 80 to 100%, can cause a fungus disease within your plant. You want to keep a close eye on your plants during those very, very hot, humid days. Plants are very adaptable during days where it is hot and where it is cold. So there are some numbers to help you understand where to grow them best. 4-number code system for where plants will grow best. The first two numbers indicate the cold hardiness region. The second set of numbers indicate heat tolerance regions and the requirements. So keep an eye out for the codes in your area of your landscaping. Plant diseases and insects. Now, some diseases and insects damage may be prevented. For example, using a variety of plant species that are resistant to diseases or insects. You may want to plant them in such a way whereby you use crop rotation. The crop rotation is a very helpful idea whereby you confuse the insects. They are so used to going to a particular area regularly, but you change the area up so they do not continue to go there to damage your crop as well as to bring the insects and the diseases into that area. If none of those work, by all means, your last resort will be to use the chemicals. And there are many chemicals on the market that can be used that is not so harmful. Gases and air particles. Adding carbon dioxide to the air increases the growth rate of certain crops. However, sulfur dioxide from coals, furnaces, and carbon monoxide from cars are known to reduce plants' growth. In conclusion, for a successful plant growth, it is extremely important to consider the plant environment both underground and above. Soil conditions and soilless mixes must match plants' needs. The plant medium must be evaluated in terms of soil pH, the drainage, and fertility. Select only plants adapted to the environment they will be placed into. Hope all of this will be a wonderful start to your planting career. Have a beautiful day and see you next time. Goodbye.